All right, so today we're going to dive into some really interesting stuff about Paige Bueckers.
Okay.
She's obviously a huge name in women's college basketball, and you flagged some really cool material that kind of gets into, her overall impact on the sport and all the Caitlin Clark comparisons that are constantly swirling around.
Yeah.
So our mission, I guess, for this deep dive is to really break down, the story of her college career so far, and especially this whole thing about whether or not a national championship is going to make or break her legacy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the sources that you sent up really paint this picture of a really uniquely talented player. And, we can kind of unpack what that journey has looked like and what this season means for her story.
Yeah, for sure. So, right off the bat, the material really establishes Bueckers, even at, just 23 years old, as a major sensation in women's college basketball. So, what from the sources really jumps out at you as far as her, her impact and her significance?
Well, I think what's fascinating is just how much of a focal point she's been since her freshman year.
Right.
And the sources really kind of highlight that initial impact, noting the immediate comparisons to Caitlin Clark. And it wasn't just hype. There was a tangible maturity and high level of play there that was evident right away. So even if some don't place her statistically exactly at that level, at Clark's level overall career, that early brilliance was undeniable.
Yeah, for sure. And it really set the bar high right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that the sources keep coming back to is obviously this pursuit of a national championship. It hasn't happened yet. And with her projected as the #1 WNBA pick, it feels like this season is, it's like there's extra weight to it.
Yeah.
So why is that particular missing piece so significant in the narrative around her?
I think if we connect this back to kind of the bigger picture, the national championship is often seen as this ultimate validation in college sports.
Sure.
So for a player of Bueckers' caliber, the absence of that title creates a narrative of unfinished business for a lot of observers.
Right.
And I think the sources emphasize that this potential last chance adds a layer of intensity to every game.
Definitely, yeah. And even without that championship, though, the sources also go into detail about some pretty amazing individual achievements that she's had. We're talking about a 40-point game at UConn.
Oh, yeah.
What did those records tell us about her, even beyond the team titles?
I think this raises a really important point, and I think your sources highlight that in her freshman year, if you look at assist rate and points per 40 minutes, Bueckers actually surpassed the freshman year numbers of legends like Maya Moore and Tina Charles.
Wow.
So those aren't just good stats, those are illustrating a really exceptional level of early dominance.
Right.
I think these achievements of madness, as one source put it, really underscore her brilliance, regardless of team titles.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about her performance, though, right? The sources also mention the challenges that she's faced with injuries. So how have those setbacks kind of factored into this whole championship thing?
Well, I think what's interesting here is how those injuries have interrupted potential momentum and team cohesion, And I think the sources sort of suggest a what-if scenario for some, wondering how different things might have been without those periods of absence.
Yeah.
And it really adds a layer of complexity and perhaps even sympathy to her journey.
Yeah, it makes it more human, right?
Absolutely.
So it seems like the main takeaway from all this is that you have this incredibly talented player with these amazing individual accomplishments.
Right.
But the lack of a national championship, it kind of creates this sense of incompleteness, at least for some people. And the sources seem to suggest that there's this pressure on her to really solidify her legacy before moving on to the WNBA.
Precisely, and I think that's the core tension that these sources reveal. There's this externally driven narrative that, a championship is the ultimate measure.
Yeah.
However, it's also kind of hinted that Bueckers herself might have a different perspective on her college success, regardless of that one title.
Right, and I think that's so interesting because it makes you wonder, how much weight should we actually give to a championship?
Yeah.
When we think about somebody's entire, career and legacy.
I think that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, given all of this, the amazing talent, the records, the injuries, the whole championship question, it really makes you think about, how we evaluate an athlete's impact overall.
It does.
So for you, what's the most important thing to consider when we're looking at Paige Bueckers' college career as it stands right now?
Well, I think the key insight from these sources is the tension between individual brilliance and team success, in shaping a player's legacy. Because Bueckers has clearly achieved remarkable individual feats and demonstrated just exceptional talent, and it prompts us to consider, how much weight a single championship should carry in that broader assessment of her impact on the game.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks for taking this deep dive with me into Paige Bueckers' career.
Of course, my pleasure.
It's been a good one.
Yeah, it has.
All right, we'll talk to you next time.
Sounds good.
See ya.